Tanse, I'm Krisanachkate. Welcome to APTN National News. Prime Minister Mark Carney was in Iqaluit on Tuesday to announce more than $253 million in investments in Arctic infrastructure. Nunavut was the new Prime Minister's third official stop after a short trip to England and France earlier in the week. $94 million of this investment will go towards upgrading power plants in 4 Nunavut communities. $140 million will be for new housing and renovations, and $20 million will be for the first phase of a new hydroelectric facility. Carney also announced a nearly $420 million investment in the Canadian Armed Forces in the region as part of protecting Arctic sovereignty. Lori Iqaluit is the NDP MP for Nunavut and says the investments in community infrastructure don't go nearly far enough.
The combined announcement for investing in the North was only $250 million, with it being combined between housing and energy. And to me, that is just the tip of an iceberg of how much the housing need is in Nunavut.
A man from the Kisikuus First Nation in Saskatchewan who drove into a group of pedestrians that killed one child in a First Nation near Yorkton, Saskatchewan, has had his charges upgraded. On August 24th of last year, RCMP say 62-year-old Kenward Strongquill drove into a group of people on the Key First Nation, 1 adult and 3 girls, all under the age of 12. 2 of the girls were seriously injured and had to be airlifted, and 1 of the girls died at the scene. The man had non-life-threatening injuries. Strongquill was initially charged with leaving the scene following a death and driving while impaired, causing bodily harm and death. Saskatchewan RCMP have now replaced the charges with 1 count of manslaughter along with a number of impaired driving charges. Strongquill has remained in custody since the incident and appeared in court on Monday. It's been nearly a year since the Department of Fisheries and Oceans officers left 2 Mi'kmaq fishermen stranded without footwear in the middle of the night. An Indigenous Independent Review Committee has been selected to review the DFO officers' actions. APTN News has learned 3 Mi'kmaq community members will be part of the committee. On March 26th of last year, DFO officers confiscated Blaise Siliboy and Kevin Hartland's boots and cell phones. They had been arrested for harvesting baby eels but were immediately released and left at a gas station about 200 kilometers southeast of Halifax. The investigation will be overseen by Crown Indigenous Affairs. The final report will be presented to the Minister of Fisheries for review and action. Mi'kmaq Senator Paul Prosper says the independent review is necessary.
We can't let these issues just slide by without, giving it its due focus to help improve relationships. We all know relationships have been strained.
We have more information on a proposed class action lawsuit against the Northwest Company. It's the second lawsuit within only a span of a couple weeks against the retail giant regarding federally subsidized product pricing in their Northmart and Northern grocery stores. APTN Sav Jones spoke to one of the lawyers who filed the suit for more information.
The lawyer for a proposed class action lawsuit says his case against the Northwest Company, or NWC, could be wide-reaching across northern Canada. The suit alleges millions of dollars in federal subsidies to the NWC to reduce the high price of nutritious foods and essential goods in their northern stores are being diverted from customers.
If it is true, it is a brazen act on behalf of a company who holds the literal lives of people in these communities in their hands.
Food prices can be 2 to 3 times higher in the north, in part due to shipping costs. The federal government's Nutrition North Canada program, or NNC, has an annual budget of around $130 million to help subsidize northern food costs. Recipients are contracted to pass 100% of the subsidy on to customers through subsidized product pricing. The suit alleges NWC receives about half of that annual budget for their North Mart and Northern stores, but allege that millions of dollars are going into NWC's earnings instead of making food cheaper.
There was a former employee who was recording these things to her undying credit as evidence which will certainly be advanced as part of the class action. We had somebody on the ground, an insider, so to speak, who would be able to give that information, and my understanding is she's not alone.
Every person who has shopped at NWC's grocery stores since the subsidy program began in 2011 could receive compensation. There are 122 affected communities named in the suit, located in 6 provinces and 2 territories. Lawyer Stephen Cooper says the intention of the subsidy program isn't just to make healthy food more financially accessible, but also more competitive against cheaper and less nutritious alternatives. He says if that subsidy isn't being applied in full, families are left choosing less healthy foods due to costs, and their health suffers.
And if that subsidy is being diverted, if that is true, then that is horrific. That is the worst case of corporate profit over human interest that one can imagine.
The allegations have not been tested in court. The suit was filed in Manitoba, where NWC is headquartered, and has both Manitoban and Nunavummiut plaintiffs. The Manitoba court needs to decide if a class action is an appropriate pursuit for the claim, as opposed to thousands of individual filings. This is the second suit of its kind against the company for similar reasons, filed within weeks of each other. Cooper says the more people involved early on in the uncertified class action means more information being shared to support the claim.
This is a really good example of how class actions should work, because the individual may have difficulty pointing to individual items and dollars. But if you want to provide your own experiences, that's extremely helpful to us.
Cooper says his personal experience as a former resident of Northwest Territories and Nunavut will help advance the case. You can reach out to Cooper for more information by calling 1-800-994-7477 or emailing steve@cooperregal.ca. Sav Jonza, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Thank you, Sav. A Lakota woman in the United States recently ran a half marathon in Washington, D.C. to bring more awareness for the family of Emily Pike. Jordan Marie Brings Three Horses Whetstone, a Lakota athlete from the Lower Brule Sioux tribe, recently ran in the Rock and Roll Half Marathon in Washington, D.C. While competing, she carried a sign that read "Justice for Emily Pike," with Pike's family sending their blessing to Whetstone for her advocacy and bringing Emily's story to light. Emily Pike was only 14 years old when she went missing from a youth care home in Mesa, Arizona earlier this year. Weeks later, her dismembered body was found in a wooded area just outside of her home reserve of San Carlos Apache and about 100 miles from her last location. Whetstone hopes justice is found for Emily Pike and wants the U.S. to continue to talk about Emily's story. The San Carlos Apache tribe has announced a $75,000 reward for information that could lead to an arrest. The U.S. Army and Defense Department removed a mention of the Navajo Code Talkers from its website. They are a group of Navajo U.S. Marines who were essential during World War II. They were recruited in 1942 to develop a code using their native language, which was used to transfer sensitive information across the Pacific. It was such an important event in American history, a film called Wind Talkers was made starring Nicolas Cage and Adam Beach. The duty officer from the Defense Department told APTN News the department is restoring the content back on the website. It had been recently removed through an executive order by the Trump administration, with the DoD removing any mention of diversity, equity, and inclusion, also known as DEI. The U.S. Army did not respond to APTN's comment before our deadline. We're always looking for your feedback or story ideas. Here's how you can continue the conversation with us. If you have a story you want to share, send us an email to news@aptn.ca. To read and watch our stories, you can go to aptnnews.ca. And you can also find us online on your favorite social media sites, including TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and an X. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. Jelly Roll is currently on tour in Canada, and his recent stop in Winnipeg has changed the lives of 2 Indigenous women. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Many people will tell you about a concert they went to and how it was life-changing. But for 2 Winnipeg women, it really was. CTV's Danton Unger explains.
I tell you what, you don't get student loans no more, girls. We're going to pay them off for y'all, all right?
An unbelievable moment at a concert in Winnipeg.
I woke up this morning and I honestly thought it was a dream.
These are the 2 women in the video, Deandra Crushane and Brianna Knott. They're studying social work at the University of Manitoba, and they also happen to be huge Jelly Roll fans.
I love him so much. He's so inspirational. Like, his music is so good, and it speaks to my soul.
You ain't nothing but a liar.
So when the Grammy-nominated country rap superstar announced he would be coming to the Canada Life Centre in Winnipeg, Deandra and Brianna knew they had to be there. But they didn't go empty-handed. They made these signs asking Jelly Roll for a big favor, and to their surprise, he took notice.
These 2 young ladies have been standing here all night with a sign that says, Jelly Roll, we need a favor. We're honor roll students. Can you help with our student loans, pretty please?
What happened next, quite literally, was life-changing.
I tell you what, you don't get student loans no more, girls. We're going to pay them off for y'all, all right?
Tens of thousands of dollars in student loans, now gone.
We obviously cried. We were hugging each other.
Yeah.
We dropped all of our belongings.
Both are now looking forward to graduating and paying it forward.
I want to give back to the community, so that's what it's all about.
As long as you're doing your part, I'm paying for it. Deal?
Now, this wasn't Jelly Roll's only act of kindness during his visit to Winnipeg. We're told he stopped here at the Manitoba Youth Correctional Centre to play basketball with some of the youth. The singer has been outspoken about his own struggles with addictions and cycles of incarceration, starting when he was just 14. Danton Unger, CTV News, Winnipeg.
A big congrats to Deandra and Brianna. To Australia news now. One of Australia's most remote local councils has taken its concerns about the disadvantage of its residents to Canberra. The Barkly Regional Council covers a huge region around Tennant Creek in the Northern Territory within the marginal federal electorate of Lingiari, which is being closely watched ahead of the federal election. NITV has that story.
Swapping endless horizons for the walled gardens of federal parliament.
So I'll put that in there.
Lobbying to keep one of the most remote parts of the nation on the political map.
You know, ministers flying in and out, but, you know, and they just come and talk and promise you things, but, you know, they're going to fix things, but we're still waiting because everybody always want to bypass, you know, the Barkly region.
The Barkly Regional Council covers more than 320,000 square kilometres in the middle of the Northern Territory.
We've got all these critical minerals, agricultural opportunities, but at the same time, we have to leverage the industry that's been talked about with benefiting and having social impact for the people, the Indigenous people on the ground.
Conditions like poor water quality and failing electricity.
One day it went off about 21 times, just on and off all the way along. And the week before that it went off for about 8 hours, and tucker went off in the shop, in the fridges and all that sort of thing.
The high price of food provoking an appeal for the whole council area to be subject to Labor's plan to cap grocery prices.
Please include Tennant Creek and all our 7 communities part of the 76 communities. It will actually have huge impact on the people.
Evidence to Senate estimates confirming the decision is still pending.
Are you able to tell me which and how these 76 remotes had come to be chosen?
So we're still working through. We haven't actually chosen any to roll out for the scheme as yet.
John, there's no point in capping groceries if you've got no fridge to put them in, and that people are going without food, have rolling blackouts. Where else in the country is this allowed to happen? If it happened in inner city Melbourne, people would be screaming down the phone.
There is no doubt in terms of food security and our efforts in the last 18 months to provide that.
That support including Labor's $840 million Northern Territory spend following the Turnbull government's Barkly regional deal. The opposition's push for more scrutiny on how the funds are being allocated, getting backing.
We need to know how much money is going in, and we welcome that opportunity, and we speak strongly for the people of the Barkly, and we welcome an audit on the money that comes from the feds to the Northern Territory.
Hoping marginal seat status means more attention is a safe bet.
We now want to tell you about this week's second web poll question. Over on our website, we ask, what should be the top priority for the federal government? Your answers are the economy, the climate crisis, health, treaty rights, or other. Go to our website at aptnnews.ca/polls to have your say. APTN's Kim Sullivan is up next with an interview with an Anishinaabe professional women boxer. We're back in less than 3 minutes. Stay with us. On the East Coast, Charlottetown -1, Halifax sunny and 3. The Grand River partly cloudy -5, Kuujjuaq -6. Saint-Jovite 1, Quebec City 1. Sault Ste. Marie 3, Ottawa sunny and 4. Sudbury 2, Wawa 0. Puckatawagan -18, Thompson -21. Brandon -15, Winnipeg -6. -12 in Regina, Saskatoon -9. Buffalo Narrows -12, Meadow Lake -9. Rain in Fort Chipewyan at -10, Fort McMurray 2. Lethbridge 9, Calgary 9. Kamloops 9, Campbell River 8. Sandspit 7, Prince George 5. Old Crow -16, Mayo -2. Trout Lake -7, Yellowknife -17 and sun. Sax Harbor -22, Colville Lake -21. -20 in Arviat, Baker Lake -24. And Iqaluit -22, Iqaluit -19. With us, women's professional boxing is flourishing in Canada, which has led to more opportunities for female boxers to take to the ring. APTN's Kim Sullivan brings us the story of an Anishinaabe mother who's accomplished her dream of going pro despite so many obstacles.
To start a professional boxing career at 46 years old is definitely not the norm. But for Sophie Legrand, it's a dream that has just come true. On January 31st, this Anishinaabe mother from the community of Picogan in Quebec broke barriers in the sport. She now holds the record for latest professional debut across all boxing categories. However, getting there was not an easy task. Most boxers who make it to the pro level often share a common characteristic.
La plupart des fighters, parce que je me considère comme une combattante, on a souvent des choses en commun, qu'il y a un passé difficile ou des douleurs, que pour eux, l'exprimer dans un ring, ben ça canalise un peu tout ce qu'on a vécu. Puis moi, c'est ça, ça m'a vraiment aidé à passer à travers tous mes stress, mes problématiques que j'avais personnelles. Puis quand j'étais sur un ring, j'oubliais tout ça.
Sophie could, therefore, forget her mother's suicide in 2017, the death of her father 2 years prior to that, her own separation, and being a single mom of 2 young girls. What's more, the passion she found for boxing actually helped form a unique bond with her eldest.
J'avais plus de patience avec mes filles, ma relation avec elles est plus facile. Puis aussi, ça fait que mes filles, une de mes filles, elle a vraiment une passion commune avec moi. J'ai comme un peu initié à la boxe, puis on s'est beaucoup rapprochés, mère-fille. 2 semaines, ça a arrêté avec les poumons, avec de l'eau.
Her passion for boxing also saw her hunger for more. Sophie wanted to compete at the highest level, in a professional ring. Her coach wasn't going to deny her this dream.
Ça, c'est un beau moment, coach athlète.
Je pouvais pas lui dire non, t'es trop vieille, non, ça marchera pas. Parce que je me disais que si moi j'étais à sa place, j'aurais jamais voulu qu'on me dise non. Donc je voulais vraiment que si elle veut goûter à ça, ben, qu'elle goûte, mais au moins ben, qu'elle soit prête.
She first had to get her license. Due to her age and amateur experience, the commission initially denied her.
C'est vraiment très, très strict. Puis eux sont quand même frileux à donner un permis à quelqu'un justement de mon âge. Eux, ils ont un mandat de sécurité au niveau de l'athlète. J'ai eu de la misère à accumuler le background amateur d'un athlète professionnel normal.
This only fueled her desire.
Je me dis, c'est pas vrai qu'on va me dire que j'ai pas le droit de faire mon permis professionnel parce que j'ai pas le nombre X ou l'âge qu'il faut pour l'avoir. Donc, j'ai vraiment comme persévéré. Je me disais, je peux pas abandonner.
Her determination paid off. On her second try, she was granted her license. With electric powwow music blasting on the speakers, a handmade gifted medallion around her neck, her fight name Makwa, meaning bear, on her belt, and her daughters in the stands, Sophie Legrand climbed into her first professional boxing ring.
C'était fabuleux. Pour vrai, genre, juste la voir avec son médaillon, puis tu sais, avec l'excitation qu'il y a derrière. Il y avait beaucoup de membres de sa communauté qui étaient venus pour la voir. C'était vraiment cool.
Votre vainqueur par décision unanime.
Despite losing to a much more experienced fighter half her age, it was an incredibly powerful personal victory.
Ah mon Dieu, c'était tellement... c'est extraordinaire. C'était des moments de pur bonheur. Si on regarde le combat, j'ai pas gagné. Mais moi, là, dans mon cheminement, là, juste en montant le ring, j'avais déjà gagné dans ma tête. Là. J'étais tellement contente de vivre ce que je vivais. C'est vrai que c'est dangereux. Mais moi, là, j'étais tellement comme... Ah, j'y vais. Je me voyais comme Rocky, là, tu sais.
Like for Rocky Balboa, it's not always the victory that matters, but the fact of getting back up after every punch and continuing to fight, no matter the obstacles.
Mes filles étaient tellement fières de moi. C'était un beau moment. Là. Les coachs étaient fiers de moi, tout le monde. Puis moi, j'étais fière d'avoir fait ça moi-même. Là, puis je me disais, waouh, je ne peux pas croire que j'ai fait ça. Je l'ai fait. Pour moi, non. C'est un sentiment de bonheur intense.
Kim Sullivan, APTN National News, Montreal.
Great story, Kim. Thanks for that. And that's your daytime newscast for this Wednesday, March 19th. We're back again in a few hours for your evening newscast. Please join us then. From all of us at APTN National News Daytime, hi miigwech masicho kwana. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again. Ekse.